Let's see, will you check? Hey everyone, Joey Murphy here again with the live. We got Casey Johnson coming on here in a second. Casey owns Indy Res in Indiana and their surrounding areas up there. He's going to talk a little bit more about his business. The main topic that we're going to talk about today is residential installations. That's how I got started. I started doing door hangers, Facebook marketing, some other little things to get started. What worked for me, what works for him. One big thing, what I love doing with these lives is that everybody says what works in their area and it's all different. And so every time I get on with somebody, I'm learning more and more and more. And I hope you guys are too. We had really good feedback from the last one. Lindy, she runs the North Carolina warehouse for distribution this year for Lights at Wholesale. And we got really positive feedback from that one. So I'm pretty excited to add Casey into the mix a little bit. Casey runs the Indiana warehouse and they were just booming with orders. By him being up in that area, it better service the clients for Lights at Wholesale. And there was a lot of things, even through that, when you get into distribution, it's a whole different type of company. A lot of times guys will get in, they'll elevate themselves and they will get into maybe distributing in their area a little bit. And it's a whole separate business. And just take that into account. But I did want to bring Casey in and welcome him to the show and have him talk about himself. Hey Casey, how you doing, man?
I am good. Yourself?
Good. I don't know what happened in this house, but it got really cold really quick, so that's why I got a hoodie on. But it's like cloudy weather here today, but and a little bit rainy. But we got a lot of stuff done in the warehouse. But yeah, man, how are you doing?
I am good. I'm good. We are just started our spring cleaning season, and so that's kept us really busy. Trying to get the team set up to be able to work on their own without me right now. Give me a little bit of freedom to make some changes and work in my business. But yeah, it's been really good. It's cold here too, by the way. We've had some 80-degree weather, and then it would be the next day or two it'd get back down below freezing. So it's been a weird winter, but yeah, having fun.
How's all the spring cleaning and stuff like that? I don't do any pressure washing. All I do is Christmas lighting. So it's very interesting, like kind of how the stages of the season kind of transition for you, since you're kind of like a serial entrepreneur right now. And how does all that kind of work out with what you're doing?
Yeah, it is a little challenging because the services overlap. So come springtime, last year it got warm in February, so we were out working and washing, and so we do pressure washing, window cleaning, gutter cleaning, anything exterior cleaning. Looking at the truck, you can see we'd be able to do a lot of work with that truck. But excuse me. Yeah, it's pretty cool in the spring because we kind of start out slow and then we just get slammed in April, May, June, slow down a little bit in the summer, pick right back up in the fall. And then what's kind of difficult is that we close down in October so that we can start hanging lights, but we're still getting calls in October. But it's tough because you're looking at the tickets, the job values, and you've got to decide what comes first, what's more important. And we make so much more money with Christmas lights that we just decided October 1st, we shut down with washing completely and go straight into Christmas lights. So we only have about a 7-month wash season here in Indiana.
7 months. Yeah, it's seasonal, right? But like you said, you got to pick and choose and prioritize. But in the Christmas industry, the markup for what you do, like per man hour, I like to go off of man hours. I think everybody's starting to learn that, is that you've at some point you've got to like throttle back and then throttle forward with the other service, right?
Right.
So that's your rig for pressure washing. That's a clean rig, dude.
Yeah.
And then you got this one for Christmas.
That was the first trailer that I had wrapped. We've got 3 of those now. But yeah, that's probably 6 years ago, that picture, but I still like it. The first
Did you
picture.
get a trailer like your first year?
No, I just ran it out of a single cab pickup truck. And then we got another truck, like that truck there, where I could have more, because I was just working by myself and one other guy there for the first couple years. And then we really exploded in 2019, and that's when we had to start getting more trucks and trailers. But yeah, the first year I was working out of a storage unit and a pickup truck, no trailer. It was challenging, but beginnings.
Yeah, I mean, my first year, I was running out of a 4Runner. I don't have an image up here. I think it might be on my face. It's on my phone, I know for sure. But I was running out of a 2008 4Runner, strapping the ladders to the roof. Had a little roof rack, not like a whole bed rack, like you see that one on the right. It wasn't even like that. But the 4Runners are a little bit longer. Had a 28-foot ladder and a Little Giant. But I wanted to get up to the 28, but the Little Giant's a 22-foot, and that's like our bread and butter of like. I use the Little Giant. It fits right in the back of my pickup truck. I have a Ram Rebel, and I close the tailgate, and it's locked in. It's like perfect. You can't even steal it. You know what I mean? But we use that for gluing archways, and you can get up to 20. You can reach a lot of stuff. You can run up. I was a firefighter paramedic for 13 years, and we would run up the Charlie side, the C side of the building, which is the backside. Usually in Texas, it's very low. So it's like, how can I get up there without throwing a big ladder? And so, what do you have any of that type of equipment that's just like a staple piece of equipment within your stuff that you if you have to do like a repair, I'm throwing most of this stuff in there and I can get 90% of it done.
Yeah, I will tell you, our guys, they just don't struggle with roofs. Nothing scares them. It doesn't scare me. So a 16-foot ladder, like that picture right there, like we would just throw a 16-foot ladder up there, and then we would just jump up to the second roof. We wouldn't need to get any, a bigger ladder or anything like that. And that's a pretty flat roof. But for the most part, the guys wear cougar paws and will rarely use a goat or a pitch hopper. They just mainly rely on those cougar paws. And I think that's probably the biggest, most important piece of equipment, it's not equipment, but that we have, because I buy everybody that works for me a pair of those and then a whole bunch of pads throughout the season. And the guys just put those on. They just wear them all day. They rarely ever take a goat up with them. They don't take a pitch hopper up with them. They just make it happen. So,
yeah, well, that's a good topic to talk about is safety gear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You could see there, like we got a comment right here. Like, look at this. Let's go. He's like, we're live. With it is we use all different types of safety stuff, and it's like the tools in the toolbox to tackle all these residential jobs. I feel like these are a lot of good pictures. Like you said, cougar paws, right? You can see on the top right there. This was, I think, our first or second year, and you see how much of that pad is just worn off of it. And you could see like the front toe is worn off more because you are like kind of at an angle, and it's always grinding that toe down a little bit faster. I like cougar paws too. I think they're great. The goat, that's that one right below it with the yellow handles. I talk about like a fall arrest system. So like the top left and the bottom images below that, it's like roof safety. This is like rappelling equipment, because as a firefighter, I was doing rope rescue and confined space and all that kind of stuff, high angle rescue. And so I understand the equipment a little bit. And if it's like a hard angle to get, like I can set up a rope system and we can get there like super safe. So you can see me leaning back on the roof and stuff. And it's like, it makes you go a lot faster. I know we had one model in my neighborhood, and I booked another house with the same model. The one model, I try to use like a roof hook on a Little Giant, and those Little Giants are a lot heavier. You need like just lightweight aluminum ladder for them. And I hooked it to the peak because it's a 12 pitch, and I'm like, this is super sketch. And it had a recessed, so the peak was recessed from the house, so you couldn't even really throw a ladder at it, and you did have to be on it. I did that house by myself in 3 hours, and then I hooked up a rope system, and I did it in 1.5 hours. So it cut my time down by half. I was way safer with it, and then I started looking into lifts, which is right next to that. And that picture of that lift there, you can see we really got that thing up in there. There's probably a better, like you could use a straight boom and it's a lot better, but you're starting out, you don't know what to use. But the reason I bring up the fall arrest system is because like if you let go of that handle, then you're falling. You know what I mean? With the rope system and trying to be a little safer, if you let go, like that pet slide D, that's that one there, or even an ascender, but the pet slide D, it locks up, and even if you let go or you pass out or what, you're still safe. There's the pitch hoppers there, again, not a fall arrest, and those are you got to have multiple to climb up the like a steep incline, I feel like. And then the steep gear shorts, those are pretty cool as far as a safety aspect. It is sticky, Have you used the steep gear shorts at all?
Oh, I've seen them. I never purchased them. I think it probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I think they actually work pretty good on metal roofs too. But we haven't got them yet. Nobody really wants to wear them.
So. Chelsea says paws are too heavy on my feet. I love my pitch hopper, Casey.
No, I agree. I like the pitch hopper. There's a difference between me and my guys though too. I'm going on 39. I'm not old, but I'm also like I don't want to fall. And when I'm getting up there, if it's sketchy or whatever, I'm going to take the pitch hopper, cougar paws. Like I'm going to try to be a little safer. But the younger guys, they kind of just want to go, and they don't want to take the time to set up some of these things. And I have to kind of tell them like, hey, I really need you being safe, and all that. But no, I agree with her. I like the pitch hopper a lot. I like the goat. I think we struggle with our guys wanting to get a job done quickly, so they don't want to take out that equipment and set it all up.
Well, that's another good topic though, is like you're on these installs and everybody knows there's like this rush push. I think everybody's heart rate and blood pressure is elevated like right when you wake up in the Christmas industry, because you got to get up, you got to go. Like time is money, right? Like as far as like a man-hour approach. And so with it is being able to have the right equipment, but then does it get used in the right place? We did like there was a 12 pitch big house that we booked this past year, and I went out there to set up a rope system, and these guys are already running it, and it's like, I'm like, whoa, what are you guys doing? And they're like, it's fine up here. I'm like, it don't look fine to me. Like your foot is at an angle like this, dude. I know it's a 12 pitch, but they're like, I feel comfortable. It's fine. Like I'm good. And I'm like, okay, if you need anything, let me know, So I think there is this rush, but at the same time, like what's the risk analysis to like you said, I don't want to hurt myself. Nobody wants to hurt themselves, but like if you go down, everything just collapses and falls apart in the business. You know what I mean? Because you're that person moving all the levers and stuff. So that's why it's even more important to have like this type of equipment, this fall arrest stuff, and kind of educate a little bit more. It doesn't take too much longer to set up, and what's the lost revenue if you don't set it up is the thing. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. So I do want to introduce this video. This is of Casey. I think it's hilarious. It's a Grinch video, but it shows a little color into who Casey is as a person. I feel like a little side to him. I've only known you for a little bit. We did meet up in Utah and connected a little bit there, but we haven't been around each other too much. But I can tell that you do like to have fun when you can have fun, And so I'd love to show this video of the Grinch that you made this past season. Check it out. That's awesome, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
What made you do that?
Man, I just wanted to have fun. I feel like it's too easy to not have fun at work. I mean, if you're not having fun, then I don't know why you would go to work. So what we do, we just joke around a little bit. And I just thought this past season, like I'm gonna get a Grinch costume, and we're just gonna go out, have fun, say hi to the public. Like I'll walk around up and down the sidewalk while the guys are working on a job, and just waving at kids and people, and it's a lot of fun. But I just wanted to have fun. I mean, it's Christmas. You only get 2 months out of the whole year to hang lights, so might as well enjoy it while you can.
Yeah. Oh shoot! I hit the wrong button. It's that's the thing, is it's such a stressful business, and it's taking those little moments all the time. I know I can be a little bit of a Grinch, especially at the warehouse and stuff when I show up to work and I'm like trying to change my attitude a little bit. And Chelsea likes to have a lot of fun. She literally like uplifts everybody in the warehouse, and then I come in, I'm like, why isn't this done? Why isn't this over here? And Chelsea loves to have a good time at work. She's good at like upbringing people and uplifting moods and getting everybody working good together, and I love that she does it because productivity like goes through the roof. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so you're out here in the community, like putting on a Grinch costume, having as much fun as humanly possible. And everybody's seeing that you're doing these things. Maybe kids are passing by and you're doing it. And I think it's an awesome thing. Have you, what I saw even in the warehouse, you did one video where he like threw a box at you or something. And it was like a high up box too. I'm like, dang, you could have like, he hit you too, like on your shoulder.
That actually did hurt. We were just, like sometimes you don't have you don't have the end result in your mind, but you still want to do it, just have some fun. And so we actually shot hours and hours of video of me wearing that, other guys wearing that, just joking around in public. And we didn't really do a whole lot with that, but all the guys enjoyed doing it because everybody would take turns wearing it and messing around. And I don't know, I feel like it boosted morale, give the guys a reason to have fun. And I'll do it again this year. So.
And how much was that costume? Like, how much does it cost to really make that video? You know what I mean?
Oh, probably less than $100, I think.
And everybody's having a good time. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about, I am mostly commercial now. We still have quite a bit of residential, but like when you look at the numbers, we are heavy into the commercial space as far as like where all the revenue comes in. And I think we had like 120 residential clients, but like we really don't have that many compared to like some other people are saying like 600. I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't even have 600 accounts. And so as I was talking to you, is like, okay, there's levels and then it bleeds over onto each other. So there is low end residential, and then there is low end commercial. Then there is high end residential and then high end commercial. So if you see, the residential's kind of overlapped the low end commercial, because like you may have a commercial, but they only have $5,000. And so like, I was like, well, what is kind of your biggest install that you do? And you were saying that it's a pretty big number. And I was like, that ain't no low, like that. If you say residential and you tell me that number, I'm like, that's a commercial job. And like, you may have to approach it like a commercial job because it's so big, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit more about like this job, maybe how you landed it, just the learning lessons or anything that you kind of faced doing this job since it's so big.
Yeah. So this is our unicorn client, what I call them. And it happened. They hired us 5 years ago just to clean some gutters. So this homeowner has multiple properties, like on their property, a bunch of rentals, and they had us come out and clean all their gutters. And then I just happened to mention that we hang Christmas lights, and the homeowner was super nice, and we got to talking. And I said, yeah, we hang Christmas lights and in the area all the time. And come September, they reached out to us because the other company either wouldn't return their calls or just didn't answer the phone. I don't know. But so I went out there to give them a quote, and we quoted the house, some trees just around the barn. They got a big barn in the back and the pool house. We quoted all of it, did it. And then it was like 2 days later, I get a text from their property manager that said, hey, we want more. Like, this isn't enough. And we just started talking, and I gave them a price to basically make their whole property look like a winter wonderland, and they went with it. And then what's been really neat about it is every year they add something new. So this sleigh, we drove to Alabama to pick this sleigh up. I think it was Atlanta. Went to Atlanta. There's a guy out there that builds these. We drove out there, the wife and I, just a 2-day vacation, drove down there, stayed in a hotel, picked that up, and then drove it back, added all the presents. Some of these were added as well. But it's just every single year they add something, more trees, more a sleigh, lighted orbs, whatever it is. But they just have added something new every single year for 5 years. So what started out as a $7,000 or $8,000 install turned into a $40,000 install after 5 years.
See, that's not a little job. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's a much bigger job.
Yeah.
So is this the same property on this one right here?
Yes. Yes.
That's the same property. So I had like this image and I'm like, big job, you know, it's like, it's there's some specialty items in there. You could tell it's something, but now this, like, look at this.
Yeah.
Like how many man hours did this job take, do you think? Or do you try?
Yeah, if we're all there, so we have typically about 5 guys working for me during Christmas light season, and it'll take 3 days to get that property done. The only problem we have is that some of the stuff we can't put out or power up until late November. They are very particular about their property, so they don't want that. They're going to mow up until they just can't mow anymore. And so they do. They'll have they get their yard mowed twice a week. And so it's usually right after Thanksgiving, they come out and they call us and say, all right, come hook everything up, bring out the sleigh, bring out this, bring out that. So then we spend like one more day just tidying up, plugging it all in and all that. So I would say maybe 4 days with 5 guys to do all that.
And what's the longest part of that job? Because I'm seeing some of these trees and multicolor and it's like, some of this stuff is more time consuming than other things, right? So like when we do a residential job, we may add some things in there, but I'm like, each piece has a different net profit. You know what I mean? And so it's like, if we took this out, our profit per man hour would increase. So that's like, sometimes we kind of encourage people, if they don't, especially, hey, how do you like those trees? And they're like, they're all right. And I'm like, well, maybe we do a large display of a deer, because I can throw a deer up quickly. It's a very expensive deer, right? But like the man hours go down. It's just the cost of materials goes up a little bit. And so it's like, it makes the project a little bit better. But I know there's some of those projects that I'm just like, man, I really don't want to go out there today because it's so much more difficult to do this. And I'm not really looking forward to it versus other jobs I get super pumped about. But the biggest thing is customer service and the end result, right, of like what we're trying to achieve. And that's why we do the hard things versus the easy things. I do know there's even companies that don't even wrap trees. Like they can't even, like you said, that customer picked up, because you picked up the phone, they chose you, you know. But it's like some companies are capping their services, even what they do in Christmas, maybe because their people aren't good at it. I know there's one company around here that they don't do any greenery, and it's like they don't even try to sell it. They don't, if somebody asks for it, they say no. And then there's companies that say, you want a tree? No, you're not getting it. And it's like, all they want to do is run roof lines, because you can get, I don't know if I talked about in the last episode, but it was about like the 10% rule. And it's like, well, if somebody messes something up by 10%, it can still work. Like that tree with the multicolor lights in them, it's chaotic, right? And so it's like, it's pretty because it is chaotic. And so you don't have to be so, like, some guys want to be super precise. And it's like, well, if you're standing in this photo, can you tell me if the wires are up, down, sideways, this and that? No, even the customer can't tell it. So it's just like, you could really mess this up and we throw in more lights. It's fine. But then there's some things like greenery, like that bow cannot be 10% off. It can't be, it has to be perfectly laid. And it's kind of hard to find guys or girls with attention to detail to do those things. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you're 100% right. Because we push wreaths and garland, mainly wreaths, because it's such a big moneymaker and it's simple. It's a 5-minute, put a hook in, an anchor in, put the wreath up, plug it in, you're done, and you just made $400 or $500. But even with our guys, Man, I'll drive to a property that they've done everything perfect, and I look up at that wreath, and that bow is just a
Yeah.
little crooked, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like I want to get out there and fix that bow. Like, to me, that's the first thing I saw on that property, and so yeah, you're 100% right. It's the attention to detail. Some guys have a very successful business doing just roof lines, they're not doing trees and greenery, and
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool. I mean, my guys would all rather just do roof lines, but I feel like we may lose a few if that's all we did was roof lines. But I don't know. I don't mind doing trees. I think they're fun, and the greenery, in my opinion, is such a moneymaker. I don't understand why like people wouldn't offer it, I guess.
Well, I call it texture, and Chelsea's got her own terminology for things, and I think we kind of have a lot of similar. But with it is, when we're doing the sales pitch, or so much of like decorating your property, it's really managing. I don't want to call it a sales pitch, but it's more of like, this is kind of the guide that I'm going to take you down versus, and even the experience of the sale. People talk about the experience of Christmas lights. It does start with the sale. So like
Yep.
you could really lose a lead. Even if you get a lead, they're like, I didn't really want that, and you kind of push them in this direction. But it's texture. So we talk about texture on a property, and with that decor, greenery, you can see this stuff during the daytime. So
Yeah.
like if they just do roof line, it doesn't feel like Christmas when you pull up to your house at 5 o'clock, right? 6:30, it starts getting dark or something like that. And because it's the winter, and it's like, well, like what do you have during the daytime when you pull out of your driveway or you pull into your driveway? And when you see those wreaths up there or garland or something like that, bows, it feels like Christmas a little bit more, right? It's not just lights. And so we do try to upsell, or whatever you want to call it. We do try to design out the property where, like, if you add these wreaths, you're getting the daytime effect as well.
Right.
Do you have any, do you agree with that? Or do you have any, like, the way you kind of approach things or terminology to when you try to design something out for a property that you're like, hey, you really kind of need this, that you push with your company? Do you have anything like that?
Not necessarily. I think that's just my personality. I'm not pushy at all, really. And I mean, I usually try to quote what they ask for, and then plus we typically always try to add wreaths and garlands. But other than that, I don't know. I don't think I have something that like I think about on every single quote.
So do you guys, like, there's Christmas, right? But to try to expand the season too, do you guys do anything like, I know we do some Halloween stuff. Do you
Mhm.
guys kind of do any of that stuff, or try to even market that with your customers about even trying to transition? Because we do that with residentials, is we'll transition and be like, well, you can get your Halloween lights, and then we'll swap out your bulbs, and then we'll replace that spider with a wreath, and trying to stretch the season out just a little bit more. I know a lot of guys in the Christmas lighting is like, no, like we're installing in September. We do too, but we do try to cater to what our clients want, and our clients are always asking for you know different things like Halloween, and they want to decorate for that and add to their children's experience, their experience. Do you do anything to, like, I guess, try to stretch your season a little further? Maybe wrap trees earlier and not plug them in. We do that, you know.
Yeah, so we start in early October, so October 1st. We will probably this year start in September, just because we're pushing, over 400 residential installs. Um, but no, I think that because Halloween overlaps so much with Christmas because of the October, that we just haven't pushed it. But we don't get asked very often at all about anything else. Permanent lights, is one way to kind of combat that and help out. But no, I don't think we really want to push too much into stretching that season out, because it's already hectic enough for us as it is. So
Oh yeah. So, like, to prepare for the season, what do you guys do to, like, get ready for the season? Because I know all year long we're prepping products, and, like, we'll close deals and then we'll get those products in. We have a process called Tidings of Cover and Joy. It's a 10-step process to your project for it to be successful. Like, we're even doing electrical checks at some properties to make sure that electrical's right before we come in, just really getting it set up for, like, success. And I know prepping lights is a huge thing, and it's C9s, and it's like, well, I don't know what colors. Well, we prep every kind of color combination just to be able to pull the trigger. I, I've said it before, but, like, is we're like, when I was a firefighter paramedic, everything we did was to prepare for a very fast response. And with Christmas is like you convert a lead or something like that is like how fast can you get the logistics in order to be able to service it. And so I try to do this analogy to like tell people like if a police officer responds to an incident and he has to pull his firearm and like pull the trigger, does he have like the bullets in one pocket, the magazine in a different pocket? Like, no, he's got like one rack back on his hip because he needs to like quickly respond, right? It's seconds count. And I feel like that translated with me into this type of industry because it is such a fast-paced thing. It's a very if you're able to respond quickly, you're able to like really capitalize on things. You know what I mean? So it's like what we do is we prep like 1,000 feet of C9s, 750 clip, 250 non-clipped. We stack in a way so they could pull it from the bin if they have to glue an archway, a window, or something like that, and then C9s. And we do all different color combinations: warm white, red and warm white, red, white, green, blue and cool white, like all these things, because our company, our slogan is called "Let's Get Creative." Right. And so I want them to get the bows. I want them to do different colors. I want them to do Halloween. I want them to be so creative because I feel like that's the company we are and we can offer that service. So we get so many people that ask for those like niche little things. Like I want a Grinch theme. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, you want this type of ornament. And like, oh, what do we do this? We did a 5-foot wreath, and then we did red and green ornaments. But the red, we even did larger than what we usually do, like just really big. And I'm like, I don't know if this is going to look good. And we ended up putting it up on the house, but it really gave that a Dr. Seuss look. So like we did a Grinch theme, but then we oversized the ornaments and like nestled them like an egg into the wreath. And then it looked like a Dr. Seuss like movie almost. And I was like, dang, that turned out really good. You know what I mean? So like, what do you do to prepare and set up for the season for these things? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing, the bigger we've grown, and it is easier when you're a bigger company and all that to purchase all your materials the year before. So with Lights at Wholesale, they run year into sale, and then they'll do a pre-sale every year. Well, the end of the year sale is usually around 25% off. And one year, I mean, we just, the first year that we really exploded, I took all that money and immediately I was like, hey, I want to defer my tax burden. What am I going to do? Yeah. Oh, okay, I'll buy $50,000 worth of lights. And so that year I did. I spent almost, I think, right around $50,000 in materials from Lights at Wholesale the year before. So at the end of my season, then I placed a huge order, bought like 20,000 C9s, whole bunch of socket wire, whole bunch of plugs. And we bought all that. And then the following year, I paid my stepdaughter, my wife, my stepson, friends, whoever, to come in, and we would just prep all of those. So we would just set up thousands and thousands of feet of C9s, pre-bulbed and clipped. And what we do is we would just stuff about 500 feet into a tote, cut it off, and then say you've got, now the guys can just basically have a tote on their trailer at all times with 500 feet. That way, not only are they going to use that for new installs, but if you get somebody come over and say, hey, we want a quote, and then do you have time to do it today? If we do it today, the guys are already ready. So usually we always have at least 10,000 feet in warm white C9s, bulbed and clipped. And then we'll do 1,000 feet in each of our colors that are popular, like red, white, and green, red and white. And then multicolor, we typically do a couple thousand feet. So we have all of that prep before the season even starts, because the last thing anybody wants to do is prep lights in the customer's yard as they're getting ready to hang them on the house. It's actually, I don't know about you if you've ever had to do that, but it's like, I just want to get in there and hang the lights and get out. And all the crews want the same thing. They don't want to prep. They want to just do their job and get going, because we only have 10 hours a day, maybe a little more, to get all this work done. So who wants to prep while you could be making money hanging lights, right?
Well, it's the profit versus man hour, right? Like your profit versus man hour is going to tank if you do not get this stuff prepped and you're prepping on site. When I see guys and they're prepping on site, whether it's any company, a big company, a small company, I look at it and I'm like, that's a ton of lost revenue. But then I try to look at like, well, what would create that scenario, right? Because we sometimes have to prep on site and stuff, but it was like we just weren't prepared for it, or we ran out of that prepped product. Like you talk about buying 50,000. Well, what if you blew up and it was like you blew up by $500,000 or something? Well, that 50,000, you smoked it up. You know what I mean? And then you're forced to prep on site and everything. And it's just preparing for that storm, just like I talked about that bullet and everything. So it's like you invested back into yourself because you knew you still wanted to do this. And then, but everybody only has so much cash flow is the other thing, right? And you're risking that cash flow and you're investing into something that's going to happen like 8 months, 9 months later, really, to get deposits and all that stuff. So that's the struggles of this type of business. If you have an endless supply of prep product, like that's amazing. You know what I mean? But who can pull that off? It's just, it's very hard, even whether you're residential, commercial. And when you get into the commercial space, it's even harder because there is late minute booking commercial. Like I know there was a tower tree. We wrapped trees. We did a twinkly wall with Twinkly Pro, and they literally booked the week before Thanksgiving. Like we got the lead in like early November, and then to get everything quoted and like survey the property, all that stuff. And then it's like this was like literally like on Black Friday, I'm looking and the lead comes in. They're like, yeah, we want it. Can you get it done by December 1st? And I'm like, do you know how hard it is to get a tower tree right now? Like, and get it prepped with all the ornaments. Like a 30-foot tower tree, a branch tree is 176 branches, 176. It's 14 Gaylord boxes or 5 racks. If we built racks and stuff, I know that. And it's like, but you got to get they don't come pre-packaged. We got to put these ornaments. Each branch has 3. So 176 times 3, do the math. That's a lot of like ornament staging and getting it ready. And we did pull it off. We pulled it off 3 days before we rush ordered ship, and it's just, it's tough, Yeah. We got Ron's coming in here. He's saying, let's go as well. Do you do any kind of specialty project? I'm going to throw up a couple little pictures of some stuff I did. This was like year 5, and there's these, these balls and stuff in there. We also did up these poles. Like these are actually like beams, supporting beams of the house, but we did twinkly, and it kind of does this candy cane effect that's rolling up it and everything. Do you guys just try to stick with like the main stuff because that's where all the money is kind of happening, or do you kind of, what's like the most specialty stuff you've done on a resident? I know that sleigh and those presents are specialty. You said you had to go where to get it?
We drove down to Atlanta.
Atlanta,
yeah.
How far away is that from you?
I want to say it was about 8 hours.
Yeah. See, to go fetch a specialty project, and then it's like that has to hit good with money, or else if you took all that time to go do that and you were out installing projects or quoting projects to turn a profit, it's like those specialty projects can get, but do you do any specialty items besides that sleigh and stuff?
Not really. Like those pictures and those lighted orbs and whatever, or we'll, sometimes we'll create things out of chicken wire and masonry ladders and create orbs that way. But for the most part, I try to think of my business like McDonald's. Like, what is the easiest? What is going to sell the fastest and the best, and make that happen? Just sell what's easier to sell, and that's just how we've done it. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but we try to just stick to the easy things. So.
It can get slippery. Do you get a lot of requests for some of that stuff? Like you said, you're not super kind of pushy on sales or anything. You said that's not really like, you like to just conform to the customer and try to make it happen for them. I do see in this picture, looks like garland and some wreaths and stuff, which that's normal. But you got little presents or something in the yard too?
Hold on. Can you give me just a second?
Go ahead. You're good. He threw it against the wall.
No, we have 2 different business lines. She had made one silent and left the other on ring. So, what were you asking?
Oh, like these presents in the yard and stuff. Those, it's like wire decor. I see some of that specialty stuff kind of happening a little bit, but it's like you got greenery on this house. These are some of the pictures that you sent me, and I'm going to go through a slide because it didn't really upload. I don't know why. I put it in a folder. It was fine yesterday. But you got some of these are just some of the residential projects that you do. And it's pretty clean stuff.
Yeah.
You got snow. We don't have a lot of snow here, you know.
Oh yeah, man. When it snows, that's when they get out there and start taking pictures. So yeah, it just looks so good in the snow. I mean,
what I think is funny is like, are those footprints your footprints?
No, I don't know who that is. I took that like way after the fact. Like whenever it snows, we will drive around and take pictures.
Is that when you kind of with residentials? I know it kind of dies down like December 10th. You know, kind of really trails off, and but we've done it like almost right up against Christmas. Like people have Christmas parties that, you know, they're hosting at their house and stuff for their business, and they're like, I didn't think I'd have to do this, but we got 50 people coming over, and I want to make my house look good. And I'm like, okay, but it's there you are there's all the Christmas stuff. Do you take pictures? Like, is it when it dies off on December 10th? Is that when you go around and start taking content? Is that gap between like, because you got to take down January 1st, right? That's when you start, or do you wait later? Since you got snow, do you wait later?
Well, we typically, I've always felt like waiting 10 days after Christmas is kind of a good starting point. We actually have some clients that like this season wanted them up through February because they were having a party, and some people just, I don't know, it's weird. We have several people that want to keep them up longer, and so we try to oblige. But yeah, we start around January 5th, taking them all down. And on weekends, I mean, if it's snowing, I can get around and take some pictures. I will. It doesn't usually snow like in the middle of our season. I mean, it does a little bit, but it usually holds off till right when we're finished. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to be working on those roofs in the snow. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know. Since we're in Texas, I feel like some of the agreements are different because we don't have the snow. But I know, like, we have a tower tree, and they say if you don't take it down by January 5th, that they will charge us $250 per day after January 5th if it's not taken down.
That's wild.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's literally like one of the first things we do. And I'm like, what happens if there's 5 days of like bad weather, rain or something? Like, I mean, it could happen. You know what I mean? It's like, you want us to take it down in the rain, and it's like, But so we talked about installs, residential installs, kind of the gaps in time. But what about maintenances and stuff with residentials? What is probably your biggest callback? Is it just like a bulb that needs to be twisted, or is it trip GFIs? Or
oh man, do you want me to be honest?
Yeah, I want you to be honest.
We had the past couple years, we've had a lot of callbacks for bulbs burning out, and it was a specific brand and a specific year that it was manufactured, and the company came out and said, yes, we had a bad batch of bulbs. Claimed that it was 5% of the bulbs were bad, and I don't know why 5% is acceptable. I don't believe it's acceptable, but they basically said, sorry, but there's nothing we can do. And so we switched. This was the year, like I got tired of it. We would go, like, example, that house, they would call us and on Monday, and we'd go fix a few bulbs. And then by Friday they'd call and we'd have to go back out and fix some other ones. And they would even be brand new. Cause like I told you before, I bought, 20,000 bulbs. Well, we didn't use them all right away. So even though they were like from 2022, we would still have some that were brand new. Well, we'd go to install them and they would burn out like within weeks of us installing them. Not all of them, but it was wild. I mean, I had one house that went over there and she was like, yeah, we have a couple out. And by the time I was able to actually get over there and replace them, there was 31 of them out. And then the next week they called back and said, hey, we've got more. And there'd be some of these jobs, we'd be out there 3 or 4 times replacing bulbs. And it was the same brand, the same year. And we were just kind of tired of it. So we switched brands and we bought a whole bunch of new bulbs, and we're replacing those this year, throughout the season, through the off season.
That's the thing, is you preload that trigger, that gun, right? And you go to deploy, but you don't shoot one. There's a lot of bullets in that magazine. And then you deploy them at certain times, and now you got to like go behind it and catch up from it. And like you said, 31 bulbs or something like that after it was a bulb that was out. It's like, man, I know there's manufacturing and there's processes, there's patents, all this stuff. And people try to I know everybody's intentions is always to like have the best product that they deliver and everything, but material costs, like things that they do to change things up to make it lower and try to compete in the market and all that stuff, maybe they do try to sacrifice. It's who you pick is like, even if they do have a warranty, great. That's a very good thing that they got a warranty and they back it up. Like lightsatwholesale.com, our elite bulb has a 5-year warranty. And it's like, why do we back that up or whatever? Is because we believe in the processes that we do, and we do try to charge appropriately for it and create the best product. Even if it's a little bit more money, how much lost revenue did it cost you to just like decrease the bulb by like 2 or 3 pennies or something like that? It costs you a lot more. And so even if they're like, okay, well, we'll take all that product back and then we'll give you new product, you still have to go and service the properties and swap out all the bulbs. Like there's lost revenue all over the place when stuff like that happens, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
So by switching, you did experience that. Maybe it was a bad year or whatever, a bad batch, right? There's PO numbers, and then they like, well, what's the box? And that's a lot of guys throwing away boxes. They're like, I don't know what my PO number is and all this stuff. But it's the batch that they create, and maybe it was a bad batch. And then it's like, well, that batch isn't happening anymore. And it's like, well, now maybe I lost a little bit of faith in the product because I had this bad experience. And so then you switch. Since switching, how has your experience been with the new product?
So we haven't installed them yet. We're going to swap them out. So we've got all our customer totes at the warehouse.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Throughout the season, the client or our guys are going to just open them up, take all the bulbs out, and put all new ones in. Unless it's a client that I've had for 5 years or more, and I may just say, hey, just scrap it all, just throw it all out, and we'll give them a fresh set of lights. May go about that way. But yeah, we haven't. I know the product is great. It's going to be the commercial elite bulb that you're speaking of from Lights at Wholesale.
Yeah,
absolutely going to use those. I like the color a little bit better. And again, you cannot beat the warranty. So
yeah, that's what we started installing some of those on different properties, because we've used I think almost every single brand in the industry. And then because I'm very like a scientific mad scientist approach, I love to track things and see what's working, what's failing. And you'll find out like it's really weird what you think wouldn't fail, like even the gauge of the extension cord off the spritzer or the actual twist into the driver for the actual plug to reduce the voltage. And it's like, well, the gasket in there is too thin. And it's like, then it's just all these little specific things that happen when you do this after so long to what works and what doesn't. And then you get feedback from everybody. That's why I love doing these lives with people, is like, you get to see like, well, what was like, you had a bunch of failed product from 2022. Like, interesting. What brand was it like this? And we all kind of learn as an industry of what works, what doesn't work. And to me, that's like QA/QI, right? It's like quality improvement and quality assurance, and it's getting the best thing for your business, because the end goal is you want that high profit per man hour. Like whether you're in residential or commercial or whatever, you want to put a product out there. The customer's happy, you're happy. Even if you get employees to show up at the right time, right? Or they're too slow, they're wore out and stuff like that, and you're rotating people in. It's like there's a giant that's why I call it the Christmas storm. It's because there's so much happening in the United States with all these companies trying to get the service out there to everybody. So with that is like we talked about install maintenance. What about takedown? How was your takedown this year? And do you have any processes? Because I know this year with our processes, whether it's residential or commercial, we did end up buying a lot of cardboard. And we would set all our greenery, because we do a lot of ornaments and stuff like that. And we put the cardboard, we'd set the wreath in there, because upon transport, whether it's residential or commercial, is like the ornaments are getting scratched or that bow is getting off. When it leaves the warehouse, it's perfect. But then upon transport, the crew's dragging it out, getting it up, and then they hang it up there, and then they're like, good enough. And I'm like, no, not good enough. Like, get back up there and fix that bow. So I feel like this year we invested a lot into cardboard. I think we spent like $5,000 on cardboard at like a wholesale cost, and storing it is a little easier. There's some void spaces in there and everything. That's why we got pallet racking and you see them stacked. But I really am liking how we stored these things this year, even after being in business this long. So do you have anything like with takedowns that you use that's just clutch, that like a certain pole? I know you're in pressure washing and people do like unwrapping trees with poles, and I use Mr. Longarm, but then, they're so lightweight aluminum that they end up like bending and then you can't get them back in. And it's like that pole is not going to be good but like half of takedown, then you're gonna have to buy a new pole. And do you have anything specific that like you guys do that's just really like changes the game for you?
Yeah, I think whenever you buy higher quality equipment, such as poles, that helps quite a bit. So we have 3 water-fed poles, carbon fiber, and we take everything down. I think most people take all their lights down from the ground with the pole, unless it's difficult. But these carbon fiber poles are just, I mean, they weigh less than 5 pounds and they extend to 35 feet. And it's just super nice because they're not going to bend or break. They're super strong. But yeah, when we take a house down, we use totes. We don't use cardboard. But something I'm kicking myself in the butt for is we've bought so many wreaths over the years that I can see like you've got wreaths hanging up down low, and so do we. But I want to put all our wreaths back in boxes, put them in cardboard boxes, and put them up that way instead of hanging them, because the next 8 months they're going to get dust on them, that sort of thing. And I want, like you said, I want to be able to transport that wreath from the warehouse to the job without it getting, messed up, or, how easy it is for those lights to get snagged on something and somebody can rip out like 5 feet of lights out of a wreath. And then now you're stuck trying to weave it back in there. So I'll probably hit you up later about getting some cardboard boxes, but yeah, not really. I mean, we build a route that's similar to you. We look at all the jobs we did and we build a route, and then we try to just get as many done in a day as possible. And we go city by city and zip code by zip code and just try to knock it out that way.
Yeah. It's and the more properties you have, the difficult to like building out the takedown schedule and everything gets a little bit like more like, and then you got to communicate to clients. And so that's why I was like, oh, you go around and take pictures, but you're probably doing a takedown schedule. Like, I don't know. You can feel it lighten up a little bit, but it doesn't really stop, right? You only have like 2 weeks to get everything in order and we did this much more residentials. Oh, we need more space. Do you think this is enough space to store all this stuff that we just put out into the world? You know what I mean? Because you're like cycling it in and getting it out. And it's like, well, what happens when it all comes back? Is now you got to get pallet racking in, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can get pallet racking that fast, get it built, get it staged in the right space. So when crews come in to take stuff down, we're ready for takedown. You know what I mean? It's a jug. Don't you feel like it's a juggling act?
I do, especially when I don't get on it right away. That's the one big takeaway people could get is don't wait till right before the season starts to get organized, to get it all laid out. And then after takedown season, don't just put it all away and be like, I'm done, I'm tired.
Yeah.
You've got to stay on top of it throughout the whole year. And that's what you do, right? Like you're full-time Christmas lights. So
yeah. We hunt things down, we'll get some leads in and stuff, but we're very niche-y, like commercial, and I wouldn't say like super big commercial. I would just, because we've done super big commercial, but I feel like the good part is like a moderate, which is 50,000, 60,000 around there. When you get above 6 figures, even there's projects we bid $250,000. There's one we bid $350,000, and I'm like, man, this is so much resources to deploy at this thing. You have to have multiple locations, more robust thing, and we did, but dialing it back is you run leaner. It's more manageable too. Even being a full year-round company is we do these things, but like you said, is maybe not that specialty item, or I got to drive 8 hours, like we did. There's a bow wrap there, and we had to get that manufactured. I spec'd it out. I even helped design it. Hey, it needs to be this wide, this thick, and get that imported in, and then you put it up there. It's super cool when you get done, but like the amount of hours we put into this 8-foot bow is just insane, but it's those things you check off on a list, you know what I mean? That just, we did even signed an NDA for a project that we couldn't share, because it was for a very like high-end client where they don't want photos of anything. And so it's like, even getting into that space a little bit is, like you said, that one big customer you have, they have a lot of requests because they are spending that amount of money and they do not want you to run cords. And it's like, you really have to like that's why we have the tie-ins of Cover and Enjoy, is because where are we at in the process and when do we need to deploy? And when you have all these projects, it's like, where are we today? Where are we this hour? Where are we this minute? It gets really robust, even for very large companies, so a lot of different processes to think about for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, so I wanted to talk about a little bit about what's happening right now. I don't want to get political or anything, but there is the tariffs that are happening and the increases that's happening in the industry. There is Cambodia, just the reason of China, Cambodia, India, Vietnam, is a lot of this stuff is this where it comes from. And we don't have the raw material resources for it. And it's a giant math equation. Tariffs is just one part of it. There is also the labor hours for each of these countries and how efficient they are. And that's why I really when you look at it, it is a giant equation. And you don't want any of those numbers to go up. So this is just one of those numbers going up. And so I did want to shine a light onto Jason Woodard. A lot of people have shared his video about Cambodia because he just came back from there. But there's one part I really like that he talked about, and it's 30 seconds long or something like that. But it talks about the efficiency of all these different countries, because they're literally trying to source and give you the best product. Everybody's doing this that sells and distribute. Lightsatwholesale.com does this. You know what I mean? Is trying to find the best materials, the best stuff to deliver the best thing. But with it is, you talk about bad batches or something. Maybe people are outsourcing manufacturing to different areas, and maybe they can get the cost down a little bit. But it's so even companies with good batches with back stock, now is the time to order. So if you need to order, you can email me at joey@lightsatwholesale.com. I'll create you a custom sales order and stuff. And you really need to take advantage of what's here in the United States right now. So maybe you don't pre-order so much and you're the cash flow and all that stuff, but we do have some back stock and stuff that maybe we could help you out and get you a better deal, because once this stuff lands here, things have to go up or we can't sustain business, right? And so I don't want to get political or anything like that, but I do want people to understand that it is a giant equation, and to really take advantage of these vendors that are trying to supply supplies. And if there's stuff in the United States, try to get a hold of it. If you got the cash flow to invest, get a sales order. Email me at joey@lightsatwholesale.com and let's get it working. But let me play this video of him talking about the actual productivity.
Gave me some information that she had pulled together, talking about the productivity in a Chinese worker versus Cambodian worker. Chinese per hour is about $12 per productivity in China, versus here their productivity is only about $3 per hour. And that's part of it. I think China's had a lot of years to develop skill and work smarter. So I'm sure you're trying to develop that here. And then you mentioned more machines, more robotics, more of the automation coming in as well. Chinese are very hands-on and very quick. I showed a video of, this is back when everything was soldered by hand, probably the first time I went to the factory. Yeah. And this lady was just solder. I took it back home. Everybody thought I was fast forwarding the film. They thought I sped it up because she was so fast. It's no, that's how fast, all day, every bowl.
You see what I mean about productivity? And he just gave really good insight of what's happening in the different countries, and the Chinese are really fast and they've been doing it. And then you go to a different country or get outsourced here, and then and I know even in our businesses, there's guys that just sprinting, and then there's other guys I feel are just treading water. You know what I mean? I'm get the guy who's treading water out here and let's actually run, let's sprint, So it's interesting that, he invests into going over there, learning their culture, everything else, and seeing their, even in that video, it's about how they live, right? Because that's the other thing is they're productive, but how are they living? And they got a good setup there. They take care of their people. They're investing into their people and stuff. Do you have any insight on this tariff stuff of maybe you need to increase costs with your quotes just a little bit? Raise prices with your past customers a little bit on replacement products? Are you doing anything to maybe combat this or take another look at it?
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing about Lights at Wholesale is that the prices have not come up in years. I mean, I think I'm still paying the same for C9s and minis that I have for past 4 or 5 years. So, but that doesn't mean they're not going to, now the tariffs are taking place. I know that this year, with the pre-orders, if you didn't get on there, then, it is what it is. But, they didn't raise the prices. They didn't, I mean, you didn't have to pay those higher prices because of tariffs. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think anybody, if I'm going to spend 10, 20, 30% more on my product, my prices are going to go up to reflect that. And that's just, it is what it is. And I think that's the whole country is going to operate that way too. You're going to see that when you go out to dinner, and you're going to see that when you go to a movie or you buy your next car. Like, I mean, we're all going to feel it and see it. So it's not a new thing. I mean, this has happened before, you know?
Yeah, and it's just the tactic of it and stuff to maybe drive for us to do it in the United States. But you know what, this we're outsourcing these raw materials anyway. It's not like we have minerals and, you know, all the aluminum and stuff is like here. We get that imported too, you know, and it's that's why I say it's a giant math equation of like it's economics, right? And it's like who's an expert at that and who's trying to pull these levers and make things move. But it's something to be concerned about for sure. But charging appropriately, talking to lights@wholesale.com, like I said, Joey at lights@wholesale.com. Talk to me, and we'll see what we can do with some of the items that we have to give you the best price, and get you to where you can prep that product, to deploy that product, and make more net profit. You know what I mean? So we talk about the low end residential guys, right? And they do stay there, and it's like they build their whole company kind of around even that. Is like they're going to even have to kind of raise prices a little bit, because when they go to buy, they're like, what? A spool is how much now? It's like, well, copper prices increased, like everything increased. And it's like, well, I thought it would kind of be close to what we did last year. And you're like, no. And it's like, so now your net profit goes down, 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 you know. We talk about profit per man hours, but it's literally like it's clients, logistics, and labor. And it's three things. And if anything gets messed up with those, nothing happens, right? So we talk profit versus man hour. That's because that's a person thing versus like what you bid it at and how efficient the crews and stuff are. But then the logistical side is you know, the actual equipment to do the jobs and everything is another factor. So when that goes up, your profit versus man hour goes down a little bit if you keep everything the same. You know what I mean? Yep. So even that's a giant equation in business. So yeah, it's kind of right now it's at a time where, you know, maybe stuff will happen, maybe things will change or things will settle and stuff like that. I'm seeing numbers of like what things are all over the place. Like each outlet kind of has different numbers. It's kind of weird. I don't think it's kind of settled and it's really accurate when you look at different sources, you know what I mean? So definitely do your due diligence on that, but I don't want to get into political mess with that. We can, before I wrap this up, do you have anything you wanted to kind of say, like words of wisdom or anything, or maybe some insight of business that, you know, if somebody's listening that they're starting out and your experiences that could maybe help them? Is there anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think, you know, everybody, you know, we all started somewhere, and it's easy to kind of fall into a trap of, you know, you want to make so much per day or so much per hour, and to be happy with that. But this is a career choice. I mean, right. I know it for some people, they don't see it that way, but hanging Christmas lights or being in a service business is a career, and you're going to make a career out of it. And if you put the effort and the energy in, it's going to explode. So you're not going to do yourself any favors by starting out small, starting out cheap, just to build your client base or just to get started. It will backfire on you, and you don't want to be labeled as the cheap guy or the guy that, you know, only does so many installs. So I think everybody should take it seriously in the beginning, take some business courses, do some trainings, educate yourself, get yourself in a circle of other guys who have done this for 10 plus years. Because there's a lot of fun in residential Christmas lighting. I know we talked about both, but for me, I never thought, like 10 years ago, I never imagined hanging Christmas lights was going to be this much fun or this profitable, but it really is. And if I could do it year round, I think you would too. I mean, if that's the only thing I could do all the time, that's what I would do because it's so much fun. Yeah. But no, I think everybody needs to take it seriously. Don't be the cheap guy. It will backfire on you and the industry as a whole. Prices are just going to keep going up. Our product prices are going to go up. Labor is going to go up. 10 years ago, you could pay someone $15 an hour, and now you're starting them at $25 an hour. I mean, it's just, is what it is. So take it serious and have some fun with it. I mean, we have fun. We have a lot of fun. Like
serious but fun, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Don't stress yourself out too much and have fun with it. But just like that, you make a good point. It's like even with commercial, there's massive contracts and terms and conditions and everything. But even with our residential people, we have terms and conditions, right? So when you take it serious, they're going to hold you accountable. They will. If they're paying for something, they're going to want what you're saying you're going to deliver. But with those terms and conditions is like, what if they pay late? What if they do a bulb change in season? Do I charge accordingly for that? You know what I mean? What, like insurance and stuff like that is like, hey, here's this. So terms and conditions are so important. And you don't even really need to look at like another lighting company to get their terms and conditions and stuff. You can. I know some guys that'll like cold call other companies and try to get quotes and try to see what they're doing and stuff. But it's also like, I like what you said about like business courses. Like you're getting in business. This is not just like I do this full time, right? And I don't do anything else. I just do Christmas and the holiday stuff. And it's like, well, you need to have those processes in place with your quotes. Like I don't want to get a CRM. You can't do a text quote and then what, you're going to text them the terms and conditions and everything. It's like get you a system that can actually roll to where they're signing an agreement like with their actual on their phone. And you're doing good business practices and that costs, $100 a month to have all that. And I'm like, well, there's enough money in this industry to gain that. Get your terms and conditions right, be professional with it. So that way you can have fun. Because if something happens and then now you're fighting with clients and everything, that's not fun. You know what I mean? And so I think that's a really good thing. Get good business, go to other business places that don't even have any lighting guys. There is conventions, there's speakers and everything else that you can bend their ear a little bit because it's a service company and it doesn't matter. Like an HVAC company's terms and conditions, maybe it tailors a little bit to that. But if you look at like 90% of their terms, it's just good business practice. That's all it is. It's like, hey, we're going to do these things and change the verbiage a little bit. And it's better to have some sort of agreement with your clients and that's what to me makes professional. It's not just so much a blanketed term. It's like, hey, I do these things. I do good business practices. Therefore, I am professional. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Well, here's lightsoutwholesale.com. And I did want to show you, like you talked about training. We do have a training. You go to this training link right here. Or I think the link is even here, permanent lighting and training. But there's other trainings. You do Invisalight's permanent lighting training. That's our permanent lighting line that we have, and we have trainings. The next one's coming up here in Texas. That's going to be at our location here in Texas, April 18th. I know we got a guy coming from Maryland. Like people are coming from all over the country, and so we got April 18th. If you want to know more information about that, you can email me at joey@lightsoutwholesale.com or just go here and hit register now. We do have it where it's in person. You can just buy that ticket, or it's in person with a demo kit. It's really good to get these demo kits and play with it and everything else. Because even when you engage with customers and try to sell, it like in front of them is like, if you can show them the product a little bit, because with permanent lighting, you need to be on site just a little bit more. We do so much remote bidding in the Christmas lighting, like seasonal lighting business. For bigger projects, we do a site survey is what we call it. But you do need to get out there because you need to know what color of track and all these other things. So we do offer training with lightsoutwholesale.com, and you can come to the next one that's in the Texas location. That one's coming up, and there's other ones too. You can see there's virtual ones. If you can't make it, definitely sign up for the virtual. You got Utah, even in North Carolina, we got a training going on. So they're all over the country. Definitely servicing as many people as we can, trying to get what we do out there as much as we can. Yeah, man, it was really good talking to you, catching up with you and your business. I had a lot of fun. I learned a little bit more about you. I don't like when we're up in Utah, we're kind of, we talk about business, but it's like, let's have a little fun too. You know what I mean? Yeah. We are going up there in May and like right after the first week of May, I'm going to see you up there, aren't I?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But that's not even so much business. Like there's not even a training going on or anything like that. Right. Like, there's no training. Yeah. Time. We're there to have fun.
Yeah. We'll talk shop. I think that's how, we'll talk shop for day one, and then day two, again, it's about enjoying what you do. And that's something Lights at Wholesale does. They enjoy what they do. I mean, they're down to business, but it's a lot of fun. And I just kind of wanted to just say something just about Lights at Wholesale. Kind of makes me emotional thinking about it. But I just want to I want to tell you why I'm part of Lights at Wholesale and why I've stuck with them. Because it's not it's not about the price, like Lights at Wholesale, yes, they have really good pricing. Yes, they have free shipping. Have I found cheaper product before other places? Yes, I have. Cheaper bows, cheaper, whatever it is, I have. But I'm a loyal person. And the reason I'm loyal to Lights at Wholesale, about, I would say 8 years ago is when I got introduced to them. But it was, I think, the following year, the year after that, I needed a specific product. I think I needed red and white minis, warm red and white. It was the end of the season. Nobody had anything in stock. Dustin didn't have it. Nobody did. And I called him and he's like, I don't have it, but let me see what I can do. And 2 hours later, Dustin called me and said, hey, I'm willing to drive. There's somebody in Utah about 2 hours away that has red and white minis. They've got 4 cases. That's what you need. I said, yes, that's what I need. He's like, I'm willing to drive that 2 hours to go pick those up and bring them back and then ship them to you. And I was like, who does that? He wouldn't have made a penny. He wouldn't have made a penny because he, you know what I'm saying? He'd have bought them and then I'd have bought them from him. And honestly, he probably would have lost money. But Dustin and everybody at Lights at Wholesale are very loyal too. And he recognized that I'm a customer for life with him. And he was going to take care of me. So from that point on, when he told me he was going to do that, and it didn't work, I didn't actually need that. And I ended up finding him somewhere else. But just the fact that he was willing to do that, and their entire staff is willing to go the extra mile and work outside of their business hours to make sure we're all taken care of, is the reason I'm loyal and will continue to be loyal to Dustin and Lights at Wholesale for the rest of my career. So just wanted to say that.
Just want to throw that whopping story on us.
I mean, it's just because it really did. I just couldn't believe it. I remember getting off the phone and talking to my wife and thinking, I can't believe he was willing to do that for me. We'd never met. I'd only been a customer of his for 2 years. So I just thought it was really neat. So,
well, it's that customer service side of it, but then it's beyond that, right? Like you said, I can't believe he's even going to do this. It's even ethics, what I mean? And it's just it probably made you like you said, you didn't want to get choked up about it, but it's man, the humanity, there is good people out there trying to do good things. And I feel like that's what Lights at Wholesale is. And it's built around that. Right. So I see it online and people are like customer service, you know what I mean? And it's they have great customer service. And it's well, listen to that story and tell me that that's not good customer service. It's factual. It's not opinion anymore,
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's not just him. It's everyone, his brother, everyone that works for him. I mean, when we were shipping out of Indiana, that Shane was there working basically from 2 a.m. to 9 p.m. every single day, answering the phone, shipping out orders. I mean, it was insane. And, where other companies might say, hey, it's 5 o'clock, it's time to go home. That wasn't us. That wasn't them. They know that we're on limited time and want us taken care of. And in return, I'm going to be a loyal customer of his for life. So I'm really glad to be a part of Lights at Wholesale.
Yeah, maybe that's why we're successful. They're successful, but I haven't. The history it's this whole. I wasn't here when it started. It's so what they're doing is just that, and that makes me feel. I didn't know that story even, and I'm part of it. You know what I mean? And so thank you for sharing that, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's end on that note because nothing we say is going to beat that. So. I appreciate you, man. I hope we can get up to Indiana sometime, hopefully this year or something, and kind of maybe do trainings and stuff out there or something. But love to spend some more time with you. And thanks for sharing your story for sure.
Absolutely, man.
All right, man. Well, take it easy, and thanks for coming on with me.
Yep. Take care.
Take care.